So it's very easy to keep the developer inside the box and not make spaghetti code referencing a lot of other plugins. Another success factor is to keep services and user interface components in different plugins. So put your logic in the service layer. Then it's easy to have different user interfaces for the same services. So you might have some with a bootstrap CRUD interface for the admin people, and you can have some other interface for other people, and you can expose the service layer to the web front because you want to display some information on the public web, but then you don't expose the user interface to the front end. So you only have the service in the front end application, then you have the back office application, and where you have all the admin user interface. So keep services and domain classes in one plugin, and all the user interface stuff in another plugin. And you can also use the service plugin to write microservice style applications, or put a REST controller in front of the service layer to have produce JSON to talk to an Angular application. So that's a very important thing to keep the service layer free from any user interface components. And you should also make sure that you don't have a lot of intra-plugin dependencies. So if you're making a big application with lots of plugins, you should make the plugins as few dependencies on other plugins as possible. But it's quite easy when you develop a plugin with this in mind, that services separated, and each plugin is only what it's best for. So if you have the need to have some common services, put those common services in a separate plugin, and you can let it's okay for other plugins to access common services, but keep the common services plugins to a minimum. But how do you communicate with between plugins if you don't are allowed to have dependencies on them? Well, the option we use is to use messaging events. It's the same thing here. To send messages between plugins. I'll explain more in detail later. Spring itself has built-in event support. So you can set an application event, and you can have an event listener to listen for events. And if you want more advanced event supporting, you can use Spring integration product framework with a lot of routing rules and very advanced stuff. And Camel is also a product that you can use to route messages between system components. And Platform Core is a plugin that's not actively developed, but it's still maintained. Works in the latest version. Haven't tested it in Grails 3 yet, but up to Grails 2.5. So Platform Core includes event support, where you can broadcast events from one controller method or service method, and then you can listen to events in other plugins. And the Grails 3 includes event support out of the box, so that's great, I think, that we have one common way to do eventing between plugins and applications. So you should also limit the number of messages or ways to send messages between plugins. It's better for a plugin to, if a plugin wants to send an email, for example, then it should not send that message to the email plugin. It should just compose a message with from, and to, and subject, and the message body, and then just send an event, send email. And hopefully someone will listen for that event. And usually that is the application. The application is the router that listens for all events that are about sending an email. And the application knows what plugins are installed in the application. And the application knows to send this to the email plugin, for example. But you can switch that to send the email message to something completely different service. So let the application be the director that listens to events and coordinate them to different plugins. Then it's much easier to change how plugins communicate with each other. Because the application has all the plugins in the build config file, so the application knows about most of the plugins directly, so it can run messages. But what are the drawbacks with working with events and sending messages? Well, error handling can be a little harder to track down when you get an exception somewhere. You get an exception somewhere in the email plugin. It's harder to find the path back to who really sent that email, because maybe it was the problem in the source that they didn't supply what the email address to send to. But that's really the problem, was that the plugin that sent this event. So stack traces can be hard to follow. And debugging, because you cannot do single step so easy, because you just send a message. But those are problems that small problems, and if you compare to what you win when you use the messaging. But what about the domain model? How can you fetch data from other plugins when you're not allowed to have compile time dependencies to other plugins? Well, you can use the detached criteria that is included in Grails. And detached criteria is a normal criteria API, but you don't need a connection to the database or have any session when you create the criteria. So you create a criteria instance, and then you add query filters like last name equals something, and then you can send that criteria instance to another service. And when the service needs to retrieve the results of that query, the service executes the criteria. And now you need to have an in-session connection to the database. But for that, you don't need the session. So that's a way to if you have a plugin that exports to Excel, a plugin very specific to export data to Excel, then you can create the criteria, what is to be exported in one plugin, and just send it with an event to the Excel exporter. And the exporter will execute the query and sort it the way you want. So that's an option. But criteria instances are not serializable, so you cannot send it over, store it in a database, or send it over a message queue. But if you need that, you can use the selection plugin. And the selection plugin is a plugin that express queries as URLs. So a query looks like this. New URI, and then a specific syntax for different characters. In this example, there is a person service that queries for people in the database. It returns a result set of person instances. So that's in one service. Then when you want to create a criteria or a query, you create a URI instance. Being equal person service list, and then the filter name equals A. And URI instances are serializable, so you can store this in a database. If you want to give people the option to save their filters for later use, you can save that in the database. And then you use the selection service that is a part of the selection plugin to actually do the query. So you supply the URI instance to the selection service, and that will eventually call this person service to do the list and return the result. So here you use the query, here you create the query, here you use it, and this can be called. And there are other options in the criteria, in the selection plugin to talk directly to GORM. So you can have a GORM query, person / list, first name, last name. That would be a GORM query for the person domain class. You can call any service that you have annotated with selectable. If you don't have that annotation, it would make a huge security hole where you can specify a URL to access any service. So therefore, it's we need to have the selectable annotation on each method that you're allowed to call from the selection plugin. And also with GORM queries, you can restrict that to only specific domain process. If you want to refer from one domain class to another, and you can't have associations in the domain layer, how should you store references to other domain instances? We use this technique where we store the reference as a string, and the first part is the domain class, and the second part is the primary key. So if we want to refer to a specific person, as in this example, this is something, a document that we want to store connected to a person. We don't want to have an association from the document domain to a person domain, because that would be too limited. Because if you want to attach the document to a project, then we must have an association with the project. So there's a lot of associations that we don't want. So instead we use the soft association in the document domain. So the document refers to a person at 42. then it's very easy to look up that person when you need it. If you pull out the document from the database and you want to look up what domain is this referring to, just look up the person domain and call get on the panel. Then you have the person instance. And if it was a project, then it's of course the project. And you can find all the documents connected to this person with final dynamic finding. So, as I said, we have been using this strategy for building custom applications for our customers for several years, and it worked very well. And the result is a suite of plugins that are with around 40 plugins on GitHub. 20 of them are available on Grails Central under the name Greach. So here you can see, if you look at the GitHub account, you can see how every plugin do one specific thing. The contact plugin is an address book for people, companies, organizations, and relations between them. Content is for documents, files, whatever that you can attach to contacts. And tasks is things that should be scheduled at a date and time, and so on. And I'm going to give a short demo of this an application developed this way. So here I have an empty. We start with an empty Grails application. We boot up Grails, and here is the build config file. Can anyone build config file of an empty Grails application. It's not too exciting. It's just a Hibernate and database migration plugin. And if we we see the traditional empty Grails application, not too exciting. If we look at if we install the contact plugin, we install the contact plugin in an empty Grails, or you don't see anything. Any suggestion?
I think we have a white background.
Yeah. With a white background.
Right. Yeah, that's minor.
So we install the contact user interface plugin into this empty application, and then we add application security with the Shiro plugin, and then another plugin for caching messages in labels in the database. But the focus here is the contact user interface plugin. So if we boot this application, you can also look at the bootstrap class, where I add some demo data to the database, and we reload this application, we get the bootstrap user interface because the Dash UI plugin depended on it with the bootstrap plugin, so it was pulled in. So we get a nice user interface based on with the bootstrap. And let me switch to English. I think I have Chrome in English. So we have the contact plugin where I can search for contacts. And we have a little contact database where you can see people and relations between people. And the only thing we did was to install the contact plugin in an empty Grails application. And to give you another example, if we install the content plugin, the content plugin that allows us to upload documents and attach documents to different domain classes, then we'll see. Start up that application. If you look at the config file now, we see that the only thing added is at the end is the CRM content UI plugin, and so we have both the contact plugin and the UI plugin. And the UI plugin has no knowledge about contacts. Its only focus is to manage uploading of documents and view documents or list documents and content management plugin. But there is also the user interface plugin have an option possibility to add user interface components in the application. You have a Grails application with a GSP page, for example, to view a contact. Then you can, when you install the content management plugin, that plugin can inject a page or a tab in the contact plugin. But as I said, the content management plugin does not know about contacts. So it's the applications. The application is responsible for injecting that page information into the contact plugin. So this is the bootstrap class in the application, where it registers a view that the GSP page is in the content management plugin to display documents. We will see this. So the application tells injects that page into the content. We will see how it looks. So if I look at, I will restarted the application and added the content management plugin. And if I now log in, I get an error. Okay. It was let's do like this. So, it's the same contact page, but now we have a file where I can upload documents. So I upload a PDF here, and that document has the soft reference to this person. So that's how it works. And the application injected that tab that you see. Files tab was injected by the application at Bootstrap time. And we can yet another last example. We check out. We add the task management plugin. So now we have 3 plugins: the task management, the content management, and the contact management. So let's start this application. And if we look into Bootstrap, we use this technique again to register a view inside the contact screen to show tasks associated with that contact. So the task plugin is for scheduling tasks at the date and time. Like a calendar plugin, you schedule something to be done at a specific date and time with a priority. But the task plugin has no knowledge about contacts with companies or projects. It uses a soft reference to reference the object that it refers to. So you can assign a task to a person, you can assign a task to a project, or even assign a task to a document. Someone needs to update this document. You can assign tasks to any domain instance. So if we now look in the application again, we have we should have the task plugin. And if I search for contacts, I have a list of all the speakers. I imported all the speakers for the Greach conference in the Bootstrap. So I have import speakers from CSV file. And we look at myself, and we see that I have a scheduled task. The date and time is not corrected. I didn't have that. But the task is referencing with a sub-reference to the contact. And on contact, I see the talks. So, and I have the calendar plugin, which shows the tasks in the calendar. So this was an example of 3 plugins: the contact, the content management, and the task plugin. But they have no knowledge about each other. But even though it was not possible for the plugins to communicate directly, we still can build a decent application that looks like it was everything is connected. And that's because the application is the director. The application pulling information from other plugins and use sub-references for relations between them. We're running out of time, so what about the Grails 3 that was released 2 weeks ago? Graham was here, said that well, the plugins are going to be rewritten from scratch, the plugin framework, so every plugin needs to be rewritten. I was scared, but it's not still that bad as it sounds. It's looks pretty much like in Grails 2. It's not that much work to migrate the plugin from Grails 2 to Grails 3. And there's already popped up a new plugin that helps you with the migration. So migrate to Grails 3. And you install that in the Grails 2 application. And it copies all the files necessary into the Grails 3 format. And also new is that with the Grails 3 you publish your plugins to Bing Tray. Otherwise it's and as I said,
You're running a little bit late.
Yep, the events are built into Grails 3. The Reactor framework, it's built on the React framework, and you can publish events with a notify and send and receive, and you can listen to events with the on event listener. That's built in. Yeah, so summary, focus on the main model. For each plugin. Each plugin should be doing one thing well. And decouple the business logic from the user interface. And use events messaging to talk between plugins. And let the application be the director that routes events from one plugin to another. Yeah. And the Grails CRM.github.io is the starting point for the Grails CRM plugins. And the source code is available on mainly two GitHub accounts, but there are references from the Grails CRM site. So that was it. Yeah, thank you. I don't think we have time for questions, or we have some quick questions. Yeah.
One of the slides you make reference to Camel framework.
Sorry?
One of the slides when you were speaking about the events and messaging,
The Camel.
you was referencing Camel
Yeah.
framework. I have the experience with this Camel framework, but I don't know what is the relation with Grails or whether it is included in some dependency.
No, there is a Camel plugin. I don't know how maintained it is. I haven't used it, but there is a Camel plugin for Grails. For Grails. So you can search for that. Okay. Thank you.